What if I told you the entire job application portal you see right now was built and hosted with Power Automate? Impossible? What if I then told you that at the end of this video, you will be able to build this same application? Before I show you how to build this job application portal step by step, hit that subscribe button if you want more tutorials that makes data, AI, and automation ridiculously simple. It is time to fulfill my promise. Let me show you how to build this. There are about 3 dimensions to this solution. The first part is the code that you're going to use to build your single web application. Something that looks like this, including that of the email result when you send the email to acknowledge what was submitted. Have a GitHub repository that sort of have the code where you can actually go to. You can pick this and modify, or even use ChatGPT to create yours. I was already working on this video when I saw Babatunde Akonde's video on this similar solution. I just have to pick his code, adapt it, to suit the use case I was building. And of course, you can take this as well, adapt it, or even create yours entirely with ChatGPT. So we're going to be referencing this repository more frequently. Now, the second part is Power Automate. I have to build this solution. So I'm going to go to Power Automate, create automated cloud flow. I'm just going to click on skip. It is time to add our trigger, and I'm going to look for HTTP. Yep, I will select this when an HTTP request is received. Recently, some community leaders have showcased how powerful this trigger is, and we're going to build on it. I'm going to select it. And what makes it even powerful is the fact that anyone can actually trigger it. The challenge is every time they load the page using the link, it triggers this flow. Of course, you have to bear that in mind. The use case there is just to demonstrate how you can be creative with this, even if it has to do within your organization. But for this use case, I'm going to choose anyone and show all. The method we're using now is get. This is all you have for the trigger. My next action will be to retrieve the logo that I'll be using. So on my SharePoint site, I have Sankova Bazaar, and right here under document, there's a branding. So this is the use case we are building. Under the branding, I have my logo that I'm going to be using. I need to convert this logo to a base64, which I can use when rendering my web page. So I need to add an action called compose. And within this compose, I'm going to have some default text here, and then add an expression called base64, open the bracket, then insert the content coming from a dynamic content, file content. Then I'm going to add this. Right. So what we have here is my logo. I'm not going to be using it yet. I need to initialize variable for the URL that will collect the data whenever people fill the form. So I'm going to add an action, initialize variable. I'm going to call this collect data. It's going to be a string. I'm going to add a default value here. We will change this value later because we don't have the content ready yet. The next step is to add an action that will contain the code we're going to render for the page. And I'm going to click right here and click on compose action. This is where we need the code right here. So we have the email template, we have the one-page application. It's going to be one-page application. If you need a breakdown of this code, I've created a document that explains every section of this code. All you just have to do is click on the link in the video description. You're going to see the code that does every of this action, and you can download the document for free. I'm going to click on this copy raw, come back here, and I'm going to paste it. There are 2 things that I need to fix in this code. One, the link to my logo, and second one, the link to collect all the responses that will be filled on the form. Let's look for them. So first, starting with my logo, when you paste this, I'm going to start with my logo. This is the one for logo. I'm just going to remove this. What that means is really nothing will be there in the logo, so that I can see the essence of my logo action that we have already created. And coming down here to this, so I'm going to just click here under the flashcard so that I can select collect data. Okay, this is not working. Okay, this is not what I need. If I click on this, I'm going to come over here, collect data, update. That's what matter. I'm going to come back here and check the variable. Now is reading our collect data variable. I'm going to save. This should save right now. All right, this has saved. And then I know this is my page. So I'm going to rename this guy to single web app code. So that's the code for that. The last action we're going to add there is response. So it's also an HTTP action. I'm going to response. That is this. In this action, I'm going to type content type, which is going to be text/HTML. And in the body, I'm going to insert the content from SWA code, which is the code itself. So let's save. All right, everything saves. How do we test this? Come back here to this manual. You're going to click on this copy URL. I'm going to go to this tab, just paste it and load. Awesome. So this is it. Interesting. Everything that controls the behavior of this form is already in the single web app code. That's why there's a document. Like I said, there's a document that explains how each section of the code behaves. So in case you need to make modification, change the feeds, change the kind of any of those settings, you can always go through that document to understand how the code was built and make your changes. You can see our logo is not displaying. So that I can just understand the impact of what we are doing. So I have a section for logo. I have my logo already. I have to go back to this code here and locate the header where logo was inserted. Okay, this is it. I can see the image source. I just have to come back here, click on the dynamic icon and select output for my logo. I'm going to click on save. Once this saves, cool. If I come back here and reload the page, the logo is going to show. Do you see that? The logo is stored on right here, but what we did is to get file content, and we also use this code to convert it to base64 and render it. And we have awesome. In how many minutes? Just few minutes, we have this ready. To test this, I have pre-populated this with some information right here. If I click on submit, do you see that? Well, it worked, but oops, failed to submit the application. Please try again. Try again. Click. It's still going to fail every time. Interesting. All right. Why are we having this issue? This Power Automate flow only hosts the solution. So the way we're interacting with it is fine. But when it comes to posting the data somewhere, we don't have a place to store the data, and the function to collect the data and store it somewhere is not working yet. So before we move here, I'm going to rename this to, I'm going to call this, host web app. I'm going to save. The next step for us is actually to build a backend where this data will be stored. I will now get to my SharePoint site, which is where I want to store it. I'm going to go to human resources, and I'm going to create a new list. I'll make this one blank. I'm going to call it my hire table. Create. Since this is a blank new list, I need to create all the fields that I have right here on this form. To make it simple, I'm going to split my screen. From here, I'm going to use this. I love this feature about Microsoft Edge. All right, let's start creating the fields. The resume and cover letter will be added to the list, so we don't need to do all those ones. I'm going to hide the title field. Come to column settings, hide this column. All right. I'm going to add one more field, which is application ID. Add a column, text, call it application ID. Now we have our backend. We just need to go and build a flow that will now collect this information and drop it on the backend. I'm going to navigate back here and of course create new flow, automated cloud flow. I'm going to skip so that I can just start from scratch. Of course, this title, this time I'm going to collect, let's call it collect data, collect application data. I'm sure you can guess this. This is also going to be HTTP. So we're going to add a trigger. It's going to be HTTP. Also, we're going to make it anyone, and URL will be auto-generated. But this time around, the method is going to be post because we want to send data somewhere. So we're going to use post. The next step is to add an action called pass.json because all the data coming from there are going to be in JSON schema. We want to collect it and then put it somewhere. So I'm going to use pass.json. Yep. For this pass.json, you're going to start with here. Content is going to be the body coming from the when HTTP request is being done. And for the schema, I'm going to add it in the code as well. So in my repository, you'll be able to download the schema. But here is the schema that we're going to use. It just give us all this, split all this data in a way that we can select each of those columns and feed them wherever we need to use them. The next action is to create an item. So I'm going to come over and say create item, SharePoint, because that is where our data source is. Don't forget it's human resources, and it's called my hire table. My hire table. All right. It's going to list all the columns we have on this table. There are about 11 of them. I'm going to share all. Remove this. Title, we don't need title because we've hidden it. Full name, click on this guy, and this is it. Body, full name, email address. Every of those fields, you're going to see them there. Email address, phone number, let's say phone number, LinkedIn, I'm going to say LinkedIn, position, I'm going to say position, date of birth is right here, gender, select more so that I can see other details, gender, comment, I'm going to click here, select more, I'm going to say comment. For the application ID, I'm going to add another action to do that because I need a unique ID called ID on SharePoint list, and until an item is created, you won't be able to retrieve that ID. So I'm going to leave this like this and come back here and say update item. And which of the item? Of course, I'm going to choose human resources. It's going to be my hire table. And for ID, now I can choose the ID of create item. And right here, I can select what column do I want to update. Application ID. I want to use the format APID / I want to get the dates and time it was submitted. Okay, I'm going to use expression. We say format date time UTC now. Which format? I'm going to say month DD / yeah. I'm going to add this a / then I'm going to use the ID. There's an ID which is unique for every item, so I'm going to use this ID. So I have this. The next step is to add attachment. All the attachments that were uploaded, I need to also add them right there. So I'm going to use add attachment, the same site, the same list, the same ID, which is going to be the one from create item, and file name. I'm going to get that from here. So if I click on see more, you're going to see the file name. It's going to throw it into a loop because there's more than one file that was uploaded. We have about 2 of them, but it's captured that in one single array. And right here, I'm going to write an expression, which will be base 64 to binary. And I'm going to select the dynamic content, which is content. Dynamic content, which is going to be content. Show more. That's going to be content. But this is going to be items, and inside here I'm going to add this quote and write for underscore each because it's for each, and that solves everything. I'm going to add this. Okay, using V2. Who are you sending this to? Switch to advanced mode so that I can select dynamic variable. I'm coming down here. It's going to be email. So this is the email of the person. Application successfully. Now for the body of the email, I'm going to switch here to this so that I can use the format, and within this I also have another code for email template that I've created. This email template is going to give you something that looks like this, so that the branding, the formatting is the same. All right, so let's come back here. I'm going to open email template, just copy and come back to the code. I'm going to paste it. Now, there are a few changes we're going to make here. First, the logo. See the source of the logo here. You also need to change that. To simplify this process, I just created a Mailchimp account and put all my logos there so that I can actually use it. If you come under files, you can upload your files. And one of that, once you select the one you are interested in, you can come under view details and copy URL, which I've done. That simplified the entire process for me. So here for base 64, all I just have to do is to paste my URL there. That automatically render the logo. The reason for doing this is because I don't want any issue with the logo not rendering in Gmail or rendering in Outlook. I want it to render everywhere, and you need a CDN. So I've used Mailchimp to do that. And the second option here is I have a button that actually linked to my YouTube. Interestingly, this is not my YouTube account, so I'm going to change it to YouTube. It's going to be the Onyibo. Okay. I also want to put the application ID. So application successfully submitted. The name of the person as well. I'm going to see dear. Yep, I see dear name. I need to change to the name of the person. And how do I do that? I need to switch. That is not showing now. The dynamic variable is not showing for me. So the best option is to just click on save. Now that it's saved, if I come back here to the same code and locate the dear, when I click there, it's now it's showing now. I'm going to click right there. I need the full name. I can still take that from the JSON. So dear, this is the full name. Thank you for applying to join our community at Vancouver Bazaar. We've received your application and the team will review it shortly. Okay, I need to use this again for application ID. Control C. I'm going to paste this guy right here. I'm going to put this guy instead of thank you. I'm going to say application ID, and I'm going to insert that ID from here. So that's going to be from any of these guys, either update URL, update item, or create item. Either update item or create item. I'm just going to search for application ID. All right. So that's right there. Okay, that's the application ID, and we are done. But you need to know that coming back here to this manual, we need to copy this URL and go back to our previous flow. And I'll come back here to initialize variable. Rather than putting this there, I'm going to replace it because this will trigger the flow that will collect the data. This flow will only host the web app. But now that we have set up the one that will collect the data, it will also trigger it within this flow so that when you click on submit, it sends the data right here, and this guy will collect, create the item, update the application ID, add the attachment, and also send confirmation email. Okay, so I'm going to save right here. Here's our form. I'm going to fill the form again and submit. Just before you do that, make sure you refresh so that it can sync and capture any other settings that has been made to the flow. I'm currently filling the form, and I want to show you that the code has done it in a way that you can only upload PDF files. You can modify that within the code. So right here, this is internship application for me. You can see this is internship position, cover letter. It only shows I have CV for both in case you have job for me. So submit application. Wow. It's successful. Thank you. Thank you for your application. We'll review it and get back to you soon. Visit our YouTube channel. That's my YouTube channel. If I click there, it's going to load my YouTube channel. And yep, you can subscribe. Don't forget, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Let's go back to my email and see what has happened. I'm going to open email here. My sent. I have something there. And right there, email has been sent. Thank you, Olachas. In fact, application ID added. Let's go on our SharePoint list and see what has happened there. If I refresh, the data has been created. This is all the information. If I double click to check, so here's the data. When I Like everything is set. If I click on any of this file, it's going to open the PDF file. Awesome. Awesome. Really, really awesome. And that's the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching.